team.
Hey there, this is Malorian, and this is the Orc Tactical Team, and today we're going to be finishing our trilogy of the Wood Elf debacle, and so we started off with me pissing off non-Wood Elf players, right? I talked about why Wood Elves are actually going to beat them, and that made quite a few of them mad when like, oh no, I'm so good at the game, and like, no, this Wood Elf army is actually going to kick your butt. Now I decide I'm going to piss off the other side because, you know, I'm all about equal opportunity. I want to piss everybody off. So today I'm going to talk about why Wood Elf players suck at the game. Now this is something where it comes from Mr. Reef, and he wanted me to have another type of topic and title that's really just going to kind of smack you and say, well, what's going on here? And we'll walk you through this, but hopefully at the end you'll agree with me, and let's kind of attack this first with some definitions. Now, I'm not talking about all Wood Elf players. I mean, I play Wood Elves, and I'm not bad at Warhammer, but I'm talking about the people that only play Wood Elves. Like, they're not just like, oh, they're gamers, and he's also a Wood Elf player. No, he is a Wood Elf player. That's what he loves, and that's what he plays. Now, where I'm going to be drawing this kind of information from is I know plenty of Wood Elf players who play them for years, and then either from wanting to try something new or getting bored or on a dare, they go and they try out a different army. And it's actually kind of hilarious trying to watch these guys leave their Wood Elf world and go to a regular army. So we're going to go through this basically phase by phase, but we're going to talk about what the Wood Elves normally do and why that makes them completely unprepared for an actual normal game of Warhammer. Now, the first thing is movement. Now, in the movement phase, that's actually something the Wood Elves are really good at. If you want to be a strong Wood Elf player, you have to know the ins and outs of the movement phase. You just have to. That's what your army is all about. And so, in that part, they're really, really good with knowing how to deal with the movement phase as far as, oh, this is how you double flee, and this is how you redirect, and this is how I'm going to get around your charge arcs and stuff like this. The problem is a lot of them really kind of lean heavily on the idea that, oh, but I'm probably going to be skirmishers or fast cav, and, you know, movement 9 or whatever, right? Depending on what you are. You know, I'm going to be able to do all these things. So really, they have the rules that they'll know very well, but then to be able to use those rules, they have the best tools. You know, if I want to redirect to something, it's really easy to do with my Wolf Riders, right? I can rush them up wherever I want them to go. All of a sudden, when I'm playing my dwarves or something, and I don't have gyrocopters or anything like that, it's kind of hard to redirect things that are movement 3, and this is really where the Wood Elf player sucks at Warhammer. They'll take their block-style army, and first of all, they'll deploy it wide, right? It's like, well, I'm just like with the Wood Elves. I don't want them to know which way I'm going to go. I'm going to spread out, and I mean, I can always come back together after. And then it's too late. You watch these guys, and they're not supporting themselves. They can't, you know, they're surprised that after they march for 2 turns, they can't get back to the other side of the board. You know, it's just these regular things that we're all used to, they don't. And just the whole idea, too, where when you're dealing with your block tactics and saying, okay, well, I'll need to move up this block here, and this is going to counter here. Again, they're not really used to that. So again, it's like, well, I'm completely out of position. And whereas normally, well, this unit here could rush up 18 inches wherever I want them. Now, oh, go ahead, you little dwarf blocks, march you 6 inches. And they just can't do it. So that's the first part. Now let's go to the magic phase. Now, admittedly, this has really improved from what it used to be, but in the last book, they were very limited in what they had for lores. And so, really, they had no real understanding how to use these lores from the rest of the 8 lores. So, you know, if you took your level 1 or 2 before, you'd have your horrible Wood Elf lore, and then if you went to a level 4, oh, okay, then all of a sudden you could have Heavens or something like that. But it was pretty bad, you know, or you could have your life. So they don't understand death magic and all the rest of it. Normally, as a Wood Elf player, you'd understand that, okay, what are your spells? okay, which ones are magic missiles? Okay, those ones I care about. Or, okay, the death magic can actually target my characters. That's what I care about. What they don't normally understand then are the ones that might boost your combat abilities, right? So the whole idea of, oh, how good is that wild form? I don't know. Or how good is miasma or anything like this? They just didn't have a real grasp for it. And so, again, it changed now that you have access to whole lores, but especially from the people who have been playing a long time, even seeing them not changing armies, but just going to this new rule book that they have now for their army book, it's like watching new players. You know, they could have been playing for 10 years, but they just weren't used to all these different lores. They're like, Lore of Fire? Sure. And they just, I mean, again, this is something where they're getting better at, but for a person who's been playing Wood Elf for 10 years, it was kind of comical to watch them come over to this. The next thing I want to talk about more is the shooting phase. So Wood Elves before were pretty simple. I mean, you run around, you shoot, and really as a Wood Elf player, you say, all right, what are the fastest units that I need to get rid of first? All right. That's priority 1, the stuff that's going to get to me. Priority 2, what is easy to kill? Okay, I'm going to shoot that stuff down. And that's really how it went. And then after that, depending on how the game went, where can I actually get points from before the end of the game? Now, when you go from that shooting and you all of a sudden give them an Empire army, they just don't really know what to do. All of a sudden they might be shooting cannons at knights or something, or they're really trying to target at this one sort of beast or monster and not realize that, well, if you want to win this combat, you might want to actually whittle that down. I mean, it's great that you shot your let's say dwarves, that you shot your rock lava over at that monster and you did 4 wounds to it. That's pretty good, but all of a sudden now this big huge block of white dragons or whatever, white lions, sorry, now they're going to hit you and they're going to rip you apart. Had you actually shot at that unit, sure, you might not be getting all the points from shooting, but you are now reducing them to the point where you can beat them in combat. And it's just, again, these players just don't really realize this. Or, even worse yet, they try and apply those Wood Elf things to other armies. And all of a sudden they're trying to make a gun line, right? You got your Empire gun line or your Dwarf gun line or whatever have you, and it just does not work for them because, first of all, there might not be as good shooters, right? If you take Empire archers, sorry, they're just not high elf archers. It's just not the same. And then secondly, when they actually get up to you, you can't get away. You just kind of die and you give up all those points. So again, just seeing these players going over to that, it's really kind of comical. Finally comes a real combat phase. And again, some Wood Elf players would deal with a little bit of combat phase, but most of them would really just want to avoid combat. And from that really comes a whole idea where the normal combat tricks, they just aren't really used to. So the whole idea of, oh, I might want to have a champion to protect my character. They would not take that because, of course, my character is just a fast cav guy. He's running around. Why would he ever care about being stuck in combat if I didn't want him to be? Or the whole idea for positioning, where characters should be in units, where they should be on the corners so that they're safe. Ideas like that. The idea of being able to set up a combat so that I'm going to beat this and overrun to this over here, right? They're good at redirects, but kind of going the other way, it's kind of a different flip-flop. It's one thing to say, I'll put my eagle here and try and redirect you this way, and another trying to look for the combos where if I hit this, also I'm going to be in the flank of that, and just these normal things. If you're an Orc player, if you're a Warriors of Chaos player, you're always trying to think of that combat mentality and how I'm going to be going through these combats. So in the first round, I'm going to win this. I'm probably going to hold. By then, this block will be here to counter, or he might come in here, so I get to block this. All these little fine points of the combat phase, they just don't get. So really what this comes down to is what we touched on in the very first part of the series here, where Wood Elves just don't really play the regular game. Their game is not typical Warhammer. It's not the big blocks where you're setting them up and you kind of need usually a little bit of a mixed force where you got your chaff, You got your main blocks, you got your war machines. Well, no, they're just really little flimsy guys that are just running around trying to avoid combat, and it's so different. So there you go. That's why Wood Elf players suck at Warhammer, and I'm sure I pissed off a lot of people, but Mr. Reef, challenge accepted, and we'll see how many downvotes I get on this one. But thanks for watching, and we'll be back to normal stuff for the next one. So see you then. Bye.